Hi, this is Wishop, and this is a card reading, which is a little late, but it goes through the Pisces full moon, August 26th. So I'm really looking forward to that full moon. Um, I think a lot of people found the recent eclipse kind of intense. I did too. I had one of those great Mercury retrograde things. I don't totally blame it on Mercury retrograde. It was also pilot error, but I made a really huge mistake. I tried to fix it and it couldn't be fixed. But it might work out okay anyway, which was something I was sort of doing readings about, where there's a big problem and it's going to take a while to get worked out. And I believe it will be clear whether or not it's worked out in my favor or not by the end of August. So I think by the time of that full moon in Pisces in the House of Endings, the trouble that I made for myself will be either clarified and I will have survived by the skin of my teeth, or I'll know exactly how much trouble I've made. And it's just kind of like that. So anyway, I thought I would do a reading. Now we're finally in the third quarter moon in Scorpio, which is always kind of a good place for me in terms of readings. When the moon is in Scorpio, I always feel kind of clued in. So I wanted to do a reading with Uno cards again, because it seems like a bunch of you have really enjoyed that, and I very much enjoy it too. And also, I wanted to combine it with something much more old-fashioned, which is the Golden Tarot. And when I say old-fashioned, the cards themselves are newly created, but they are part of a deck made from medieval artwork by Cat Black. It's a really beautiful deck. So these are going to look a little bit funny together, but it's a time of contrast. So let's get right into the reading. I'm doing sort of my version of the problem spread, which is here's the current situation, and then these two columns show where we're going. So this is sort of the outcome, and then this adds more description to the outcome. Okay, so let's go with where we're at. Oh, the Chariot in reverse, and I will hold this upright so you can see this. So in this version of the Chariot, we have this woman who is actually, this is a painting of a queen, and here's her seal, and she's standing on this plinth being drawn by swans. And so this is the idea of victory and of moving through things and going places. And right now, the Chariot is in reverse. So I can't speak for you guys, but I'm feeling a little beaten up and non-triumphant at the moment. It doesn't mean that's going to last, but it does mean that is how I'm feeling now. And if you're not feeling specifically this way in terms of a triumph, you may not just feel like you're mastering yourself. You may feel like other people are in control of a situation that you wish you had a better handle on. And that can be an uncomfortable feeling too, like you're not the master of your fate right now. And of course, we all are always in charge of the way that we respond to challenges, but that feeling of being a little bit tossed around, like a penny in the dryer might be kind of keen right now. So that's what we have for this card. Let's go here. Okay, and we get the skip. So we haven't had the skip before in my Uno readings, but this is skip, and yellow would be the suit of air. So the mental realm, also words, communication. So this is the area where Mercury is currently retrograde. So where we've got skip, it's sort of saying that these feelings of being non-triumphant, these feelings of not being the master of your own fate, are things you should just try to skip. Now, I know that sounds maybe not very wise when it comes to coping, but skip is sort of another version of the zero card. it's a temporary skip. It's not a permanent thing. But right now, if you can avoid contributing more thought and more words into a situation where you don't feel like you're the master or where you don't feel triumphant, that might be better. Also, if this is a case where you feel like someone else is calling the shots, someone else is steering the car, so to speak, then you may decide you don't want to contribute more thoughts and energy to a negative assessment of the situation. So this is definitely, to me, sort of a message to hold your tongue a little bit, but also to try to control your thoughts, because this lack of triumph, also because this is a card of the moon, we can probably expect a change in this by the time of the upcoming moon. The upcoming full moon, August 26th, will be in Pisces. This card is the classic moon card of Cancer. So there's a real sense that if you can just kind of hold it together and try not to freak out, I'm working on it. That this is a situation which may come unstuck. So let's see what the other cards are. And I'm just going to flip them all and then talk about them. So here we have this is the upright 8. And we have the upside down 9. Red 9, blue 8. Here we have the King of Coins in reverse. And the 7 of Wands upright. So the King of Coins in reverse, it's interesting because last time I did the Uno reading, I had the King of Diamonds in reverse, which was sort of saying there's kind of an unsafe feeling. But the other thing to know about the King of Coins is that this is a Taurian card. So this can be a card of wealth, of property, of possessions. This can be a card of sensual pleasures, a card of tangible assets. So what we have with this is we have the blue 8, which is like the water suit. So it would be sort of like the cups maybe, or like the hearts. So for me, 8 in the water suit, which again, if this were a tarot card, it would also be connected to this moon, is that the shifting of things has left you feeling unsafe. Just there's this situation in which you don't feel triumphant. You are sort of well advised not to put more thought and words into that situation. So try not to complain about it. Try not to give it too much thought. And also because in this situation, 8 of water is a situation where I talk about happy campers or organizational consensus. It's a card of groups, the way you relate to the world. And King of Coins, because for me, the king is a vault. The king is safe. The king is, things which are in a safe. So the King of Coins in reverse is like a good reason not to do this talking and complaining is because it's not safe in the environment you're in. And it might not be safe because people are not trustworthy. Oh, hi, Nicolina. Actually, if you go to my YouTube About page, the About page on the channel, you will see there's an email address and you can email me about getting a reading, and I would love to hear from you. So the getting back to this center situation, we have the 8 of water. Oh, cool. And then the King of Coins in reverse. I feel like it's a situation where either the environment is a little bit unsafe, or the, what do I want to say? Like, I want to say the collective mood is a little bit off. It doesn't feel secure. If the King of Coins is in reverse, it can be a little grasping or even a little greedy. People can be feeling possessive or territorial or stubborn about change. And in that situation, it may be unwise to be completely candid. That might be why we're getting this sort of situation where the movement is not towards complete disclosure, complete confession, right? It's sort of saying that if you spit out all your secrets, everything you're feeling about this situation, the way that you're feeling not triumphant or not in charge or not masterful, if you spill all of that right now, it might be a situation in which you're spilling that unsafely. So what does it say to do? Well, actually, these cards are very similar to me. They sort of complement each other. We have the red 9 in reverse, which you can think of as the 9 of fire. Okay, so the 9 of fire would be like the 9 of wands or the 9 of clubs. And to me, it's in the upright, it can be a winner's circle card. Oh, thank you, Sweet Raspberry. Thanks for coming by. That's awesome. With the 9, the red 9 in reverse, we've really got this notion of it's not the winner's circle. You're kind of feeling like you're not in the winner's circle. So the red 9 in reverse is saying, even though you're not feeling it exactly, can you avoid being defensive? Can you avoid getting in a scrum with somebody? Because you'll probably notice, or maybe you will, I'm sort of taking these Uno cards because they're very directional. They sort of tell you what direction you're going and with what energy and at what speed. I'm sort of using these to characterize the situation, and then I'm using these sort of as advice cards, like, and what do I do about that? What do I do about that? So the idea is, if the red 9 is in reverse, it's saying, can you avoid getting in a fight? Can you avoid being so defensive that you feel like your back is up against the wall? Can you avoid taking harsh action? Because you can see that this 7 of wands is feeling somewhat defensive. But this 7 of wands is also a card of having the moral high ground. Oops, let me check. Let me check the chat here. Oh, sorry, Sweet Raspberry, I missed the question. The question was how to get a reading, and I have my email address and guidance on how I do readings on the channel About page. So if you go there, you'll see all the details, and if it seems like a good idea to you, I'd love to hear from you. So the cool. So I feel like you have the moral high ground here, and this is another 7, right? So we've got the 7 of the Chariot, which is a card in the upright of leadership, right? And being in the right and being victorious. And then here we have this 7 of wands, which is also a card of self-mastery, of mastering your will, mastering your ambition, being on the right side of a problem. And you may end up, one thing I always notice about this card, see, we have these staffs below, but it is possible that these staffs could become supporters. They don't have to be attackers. They could be supporters. And it might be all in the point of view of this person on the hill. So what it looks like to me is that the current situation is one that is challenging because you're not feeling your best. You're just not feeling like you're in the winner's circle. And it may be that the organization is not in the winner's circle either. You're in some group endeavor, most likely because of these high cards. You're in some endeavor with other people. And it is creating a situation where you sort of wish, hey, Champagne, it is nice to have you. You're sort of in a situation where you wish that people would be happy campers, that we had a consensus, that everybody was in it together. We kind of wish that, but right now that's not exactly where we are. And the most important thing is to stay positive and to keep your moral compass together, to keep your center, to know who you are, not to be defensive, but not to give up who you are. And that seems like it's going to be a challenge. There's going to be a little bit of a line to walk, but it is not forever because things are going to change by the August 26th full moon, which is when we hit the 12th house of endings, right? So whatever this situation is, if you can bear up and try to be brave, not defensive, right? Be valorous and courageous, but not defensive. Don't share every little bit of your business. Yeah, don't share every little bit of your business. That just seems very clear to me. Then we should get some answers. Let me flip the foundation cards here and let's see where we're at. So here we go. Yep. Here's the foundation card from the Golden Tarot. So the Ten of Wands is really showing us carrying a burden, and in this particular depiction, it is a burden that is tied to the harvest, right? So we've got all this harvest. It's a big harvest, but it's also a big job. And it could be that the problems you're having, if they seem like high-class problems to somebody else, like, oh, I've got too many customers to deal with, I've got too much going on, you may not get sympathy. Or other people, if this is a workplace environment, it's unsafe to tell them about you're feeling overwhelmed by your projects, because if people are greedy, they may try to take your projects from you, or they might want to claim your clients, or something like that, like, oh, if you're overwhelmed, I'll take it. So that's kind of another reason where you might not want to express everything you're going through, because someone ambitious may want to step forward and grab a little something for themselves. This is not a permanent situation, so this is not the feeling where you're being a coward by not speaking up, because if it's still going on in another 2 weeks or a month, you can speak up about it. But right now is not the greatest time. Mercury is still retrograde. Your message might not come through as constructively as you want it to. And the last thing you want is someone else making gold out of your mistakes and bad feelings. So it's probably like a keep it quiet kind of a time. Let's see what the foundation card on Uno has to say. Okay, we've got the yellow 2 reversed. So this would be, again, this would be like the 2 of spades, right? This is the air card. And again, where we've got the 2 of spades and we're talking about conversations, the 2 of spades is reversed. Don't get into those conversations, and don't get into any super dramatic breakups right now. This is not the time to split alliances with anybody. It's not a great time to, show your hand as far as this is concerned. Don't break up a partnership. Don't cut into someone else's work. Don't let them cut into your work, right? This is a time where that double-edged sword is probably going to hurt more than be a beautiful surgical healing. So you definitely don't want that. So it just seems more to emphasize that just for another, 10 days or so, just, keep your head down. Try to keep your thoughts positive on your own behalf. Reverses can always be turned upright. You've got a 7 here, you've got a 7 here. This is all about your personal mastery. And you're going to turn a 7 upside down into a 7 right side up with your ability just to master your mind and also master your words, especially in an environment where somebody might have something to gain from, on the surface, seeming like a sympathetic listener, like, oh yeah, I understand your problems, we're all in it together, it's been tough for everybody. And then, on the other side of that, they might seem sympathetic, but on the other side of that, it was an unsafe person to confide to. So I don't usually have those kinds of readings, but that is pretty clearly the kind of reading I'm having now. Thank you to everybody who showed up for the Uno reading. Thank you to Nicolina, Sweet Raspberry, and Champagne. It's great to see you. And also, if you would like a reading and you check this out later, not in the live chat, then just go to my YouTube About page. No, thank you. Thank you. And if you have comments about what you'd like to see or how it resonated, please leave them in the comments. I'm always happy to hear from people. But also, I like to hear from people how they use the cards, because a lot of times there are lots of people out there doing very interesting things, and I always like to know. Oh yeah, so I was going to say, if you want a reading, you can just go to the YouTube About page for the channel, and it's got my email address, and it's got all the details, and you can see if that seems like a good idea. But otherwise, until the next time I talk to you, which will have more to do with the Pisces full moon and going forward, and God bless us all in the eclipse and the Mercury retrograde. I hope you're doing great. I hope I'll be doing great soon too. But until the next time, rock on with your bad selves.